Hey everyone, welcome back to all my listeners. This is episode number 5 of season 10. Today is Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. Now, all right, you guys, can you believe it's already the month of October? I blinked and September is gone. Cannot believe we're almost approaching the end of 2023. I just can't believe it. Now, you guys already know this is the time, this is the season of change in the world of healthcare business, right? ICD-10 codes are now available to use for fiscal year 2024. They were effective just a few days ago on October 1st. So I hope you all have purchased the new ICD-10 codebook. I hope you have some sort of an online digital tool that you can use that provides you with those ICD-10 codes that are new for 2024. So for anything with dates of service from October 1st, 2023 and later, you must be using the new codes for 2024. And then, of course, our CPT books have already been published and printed, and they should be being mailed out and hitting your doorsteps in the weeks ahead. Those codes are effective January 1, 2024. But again, the books and the ebooks should be available to you soon. So there's so much change in the month of October, and I've talked about it for these 3 years on my podcast. I have dedicated episodes to unboxing the books and all of the snow, all of the paper dandruff falling. But this year, I'm definitely going to be trying the ebooks to make life a little bit easier because I do retain the old copies of books simply because in the work I do, I perform a lot of overpayment requests and demands that come in for providers. So I need access to my old books from time to time. I cannot recycle them, get rid of them, give them away. I actually need to be in possession of these books, and I have a lot. So guess what? This year I'm going to be trying out those ebooks as well for the CPT, for the HCPCS codes that will be released in December. But anyway, I'm running off on a tangent here. This particular entire month, as you've known, if you've been my loyal follower for all of these years, I devote the entire month of October to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I'm dressed in pink. I publish things in pink, etc. I want to really talk about ramp up, pump up breast cancer awareness for the entire month because we've all been touched by it. We've all been affected by it. We all have people in our families who've had it. Friends that we know who have had it are going through it. So it's definitely about raising awareness on what we can do to help keep ourselves in a treatment, in a management program that we can continue living for as long as possible, right? So like I just said, October's all about breast cancer awareness. So every episode this entire month, I'm going to be devoting some time to just that. I'll be highlighting the facts and figures from trusted organizations, care centers, the works. And then, of course, you guys, I'll write in my compliance tips and in my compliance recommendations, I wanted to dive into procedure reports. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and close out today's episode and round it out with a remarkable quote on perseverance by John C. Maxwell. All right, you guys, if you check me out on LinkedIn, you know I'm all about compliance and protecting our physicians and our valued healthcare professionals when it comes to the business of medicine. I hope this week with me brings you enough to take back to your organizations, want to dive in deeper, to use my tips and best practices to ensure success. I hope this podcast will help you boost the quality of documentation capture and improve your coding accuracy as you help all your providers paint the medical picture. If you like what you're hearing, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss another episode. Please write in a review and kindly drop me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, and definitely start following this podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, and definitely hit up my YouTube channel because I'd really love all of your continued support, following, likes, and subscribing on all of those platforms as well. And as always, a friendly disclaimer. Remember, I'm bringing you the news, current healthcare industry news, my compliance tips and my compliance recommendations based on my over 13 years of experience in front office, in back end, in coding, and in billing for multi-specialty physicians, in compliance, and in auditing for both E&M and surgical operative reports. These are my opinions alone and are not to be construed as legal advice. So let's get into Newsworthy. Now, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's held in October every single year, and it aims to promote screening and prevention of this disease, which affects 1 in 8 women in the United States every year and 2.3 million women worldwide. Known best for its pink-themed color, the month features a number of campaigns and programs conducted by groups ranging from breast care advocacy organizations to local community organizations to major retailers, aimed at number 1, supporting people diagnosed with breast cancer, including metastatic breast cancer. Number 2, it's also aimed at educating people about breast cancer risk factors. Number 3, it's also aimed to stress the importance of regular screening starting at age 40 or an age that's appropriate for your personal breast cancer risk. And finally, number 4, it also aims to help fundraising efforts for breast cancer research. Now, let's start the month off knowing the history of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. What are its actual roots? Now, the event began back in 1985 as a week-long awareness campaign by the American Cancer Society in partnership with Imperial Chemical Industries. Now, it eventually extended to a month-long event. In 1992, the pink ribbon came into play. The original use of ribbons for specific causes dates back to 1979, when tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree was inspired by Penny Langan, whose husband was a prisoner of war, to display yellow ribbons as a symbol of hope. Now, the breast cancer awareness ribbon almost wasn't even pink. Did you know that? Now, a grassroots effort by Charlotte Haley began with peach-colored loops of ribbon. At the same time, Alexandra Penny, Self magazine's editor-in-chief, partnered with Evelyn Lauder, Estee Lauder's senior corporate vice president and a breast cancer survivor herself, to distribute pink ribbons after the magazine's second annual Breast Cancer Awareness Month issue. Now, because of the incredible reach of the magazine and Estee Lauder's brand itself, pink triumphed over peach, and it's now used by breast cancer organizations around the world. Now, let's get into some of the more scary stuff about breast cancer, right? The details. The statistics. Breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer among American women. Black women are most likely to die from breast cancer than women of any other racial or ethnic group. Experts believe that it's partially because about 1 in 5 Black women is diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer, more than any other racial or ethnic group. About 85% of breast cancers occur in women who have no family history of breast cancer. These occur due to a genetic mutation that happens as a result of the aging process and life in general, rather than inherited mutations. And then let's talk about the breast cancer risk factors. Some of them. What are they? Just being a woman and growing older are the 2 biggest risk factors for breast cancer. Those factors are difficult to change, but you can change other risk factors like don't smoke, decrease your alcohol consumption, and not exercising regularly. These things play a big factor. Now, we have things that we can do proactively, like breast cancer screening. Regular breast self-examinations, an annual exam by your doctor, and yearly mammograms are important tools in breast cancer detection, especially early detection, when cancers may be more treatable. Now, if you guys delayed your annual mammograms because of COVID-19, I know I did, schedule your appointments now and encourage your friends and family to do the same. Learn more about breast cancer and how it affects people's lives from podcasts like this one, videos, and medically reviewed educational content as well. And now it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. So in today's compliance tip, let's get into the details of a procedure report for that breast biopsy you just had. And what about those pending details from the pathology report that you're expecting? So let's go over what a percutaneous needle biopsy, or a PNB, looks like. So what is that PNB, breast biopsy? By definition, in CPT, it is a biopsy of the breast, percutaneous, needle core, not using imaging guidance, separate procedure. And it's coded with CPT code 19100. Now, that procedure report is, of course, going to document who you are, your date of birth, your medical record number, your date of service for that procedure you just had. Now, the heading of that procedure report might also include details like the facility information. Where did you have it done? The name and the address of that facility, as well as the medical record number of that facility. Now, details in the heading will also include the surgery information and the name of your physician, your surgeon. Now, the preoperative and postoperative diagnoses will also be listed, and it will include a list of all other applicable diagnoses to support the medical necessity of that procedure. Then it will also tell you the procedure that was performed, right? As well as any other procedures that were performed on that date of encounter. Now, there will also be a history or indications for surgery section of the procedure report describing why that biopsy was needed and the actions preceding that particular surgery, if that's applicable. Now, the surgeon may also go into the occurrence date or the duration of that lump that you have or that mass, as well as your past medical history pertinent to that procedure, as well as your family history pertinent to that procedure, as well as any other past or failed treatments if that's applicable. Then the body of your procedure report is going to go into what did the surgeon do? And that's going to include that description of the procedure will be documented. So it's going to state something like the location of the lump was palpated by the physician. The physician fixes that lesion with one hand while the other has that needle, which is inserted into the lesion. Now, in order to obtain an adequate tissue sample, between 3 to 6 separate core needle insertions are typically required. Now, when an adequate tissue sample has been obtained, it's then sent over to the laboratory for pathological examination. Now, remember, for our percutaneous needle biopsies, they use a larger needle than, let's say, a fine needle biopsy, right? To remove a bigger tissue sample. So that type of procedure is going to be more complex than the fine needle biopsy and can include the use of a local anesthetic to numb the area of the body from which the sample will be taken, the breast. Now, providers commonly use this technique on larger bodily structures such as the breast. Now, also, there's going to be findings and follow-up, and these things should outline in a summary of findings, and it will summarize the findings of this particular percutaneous needle biopsy procedure. It will also include any sorts of complications that you're having. Any complications or absence of complications should be documented here. There's also going to be any type of follow-up treatment or future procedures that will be outlined here. So the surgeon should document any future procedures. Any types of follow-up or repeat screening indications should be documented here as well. All right, so let's unpack that pathology report that you're looking at in your My Chart, right? For example, What does this pathology report mean? So remember, when that tissue was removed from your breast through that biopsy, like this particular percutaneous biopsy example that we're talking about, right? Your pathology report is written because the pathologist received that tissue sample, right? This report with results will ultimately be used to plan your treatment as needed based on these findings. So your pathology report will again include your personal information, such as your name, your date of birth, your address. You'll also see information about where your tissue sample was taken from. The report will also discuss how your breast abnormality was found by a mammogram, then the biopsy, for example. Next, the report is going to discuss the diagnosis that doctors were expecting before your tissue sample was tested. Your report will also describe the size, the weight, and the color of the pieces of tissue that were removed. The report will dive into details and discuss what was found in each test of your tissue. And these parts are the microscopic description, as well as the special tests or markers. The final part of your pathology report provides a short description of all of the important findings in the tissue that was examined. This is the summary or final diagnosis. And finally, I focus Season 10 Spark on perseverance. I want this 10th season Spark to be filled with our world's thought leaders, writers, artists, philosophers, everyone who inspires the need for perseverance in all we strive to do. So, in this week's inspiring quote in Spark is from John C. Maxwell. The only guarantee for failure is to stop trying. Absolutely true, right? I think this quote inspires us to keep trying. This quote encourages us to work harder and smarter to meet our goals. This quote reminds us that we can do anything we set our minds on. It's okay to change course and redirect. We are still continuing to push ahead. I'm happy John C. Maxwell's spark burns brightly in all of us today. So that wraps up today's episode. And as always, I appreciate you all diving into today with me. If you want more information from me, please go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. I'll leave links to everything in the show notes below. Now, all right, you guys, as I wrap up today, I just wanted to let you all know about an amazing opportunity for you to get 21 CEUs in one weekend. Now, I'm going to be speaking at the 2023 Virtual Business of Healthcare Colloquium on November 11th through the 12th for my very good friend, Kimberly Jolivet Williams. That's right. You know her name. She was a guest back on my podcast in season 4. Now, I've included a link to get your tickets to her event in my show notes as well. So I hope you guys are all making time for yourselves, right? Carving precious time outside of work to really live and do what you want to do. See what you want to see and go where you want to go. All right, you guys, wishing you all an amazing and very happy week ahead. Thank you guys so much for listening in on today's episode. And I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.